Hi there scrap friends, Louise here. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I'm playing with the Colour Stories Inspiration Moodboard Challenge and I decided to gather some supplies. So obviously a colour challenge. So I've firstly chosen a blue background paper. Next was a photo which had those tones of yellow and blue, so that's what I went with. The prompt for words was to use the word refresh, so I've picked some plain white alphas to make my word, and then I went looking through my stash for some yellow items and I found this Echo Park Our Story Matters collection, so that's what I'm going to team it up with. Alright, let's get creating. Okay, so you might notice that I've also added this Vicki Boutin paper pad, and before I sat down to get creative I kind of realised that I needed some more paper, and so looking through my stash I realised, you know, I've got a bit of a travel section where I keep travel ephemera and different things separate to my main scrapbooking, and this patterned paper pad was kind of sitting there right on top, and once I had a flick through I realised that it had some really great colours in it that were going to match the mood board perfectly. So I've grabbed that out, and what I'm doing is I'm going to firstly cut some 2x2 squares, and I have this kind of idea in my head that I kind of want to move this layout from left to right, and I want to give it texture and almost movement like that of what you would feel like on the ship. So I know this kind of sounds a little bit airy-fairy because I want to give movement to a scrapbook page, but I kind of want to have the eye, as you can see, the flow of that background almost looks a little bit like water. So I want to sort of pull the eye from that left to right, particularly as that's the way hubby's facing in the photo. And yeah, this is just about that distressed texture and using these patterned papers in different ways with distressed edges. Now I sort of was going to almost grid style them into the background, but I decided to make them kind of random-ish, and I say that because I kind of want them to look random, but in order to make them look random you have to follow a kind of a pattern, otherwise yeah, you don't end up with random. So I've placed a few down, and now I'm going to go through and add some more of those distressed patterned squares, but I'm going to do different layering with them. So I'm going to add a couple of plain ones to just the straight background. Some I'm going to mount up on cardstock, and some I'm going to overlay over those sort of squares that are already there. And you'll see I'm going to crop a little bit out of this video because otherwise it was going to end up being a really long video by the time I got this done. And so I've stuck the cardboard down, which is where my photo is going to sit. And you might notice I'm using tacky glue for everything. Unfortunately, in the Queensland humidity, my layouts do not last forever with just adhesive. So I have to glue everything. If you haven't seen my videos before, that's just my tip. If you live in Queensland or if you live in a hot, humid climate, then I would suggest gluing everything because double-sided tape is not your friend. Yes, so essentially this prompt from CSI, so Colour Stories Inspiration, is like a challenge blog that has a challenge or a bunch of challenges each month, and I'm trying to sort of go back to you know, scrapbooking for challenges out there. Somebody goes to a lot of effort to put these together, and they're really fun. You just never know what kind of inspiration you might get. So you can see that there's been a colour inspiration, and there's some prompts as well. Now I needed a little bit more grey, so I'm going to add some squares with my grey distress ink. It's not distress ink, it's a distress crayon. I didn't get enough sleep last night, so you'll have to bear with me. But yeah, that's a distress crayon, and I'm just roughly drawing some squares and smudging them gently with my finger to kind of blend that colour in together. So this is supposed to be quite subtle because the grey part of the mood board was not super out there or bright. It's really just for me to kind of coordinate the colours and include all the extra pieces. But I was pretty fluky to sort of go with my original pieces that I'd pulled and come across this Vicki Boutin paper pad, which worked perfectly. And like I said in the beginning, I kind of wanted that movement feeling, and I think that the flow of the paper in the background and the little squares, circles would work with this as well. I absolutely think you could repeat this with circles or hexagons, and you just get that kind of visual triangle, you know, and in this case it's a proper triangle because I've got top left, bottom left, and then the point in the middle right. So it really does come about as quite a triangle style layout. And this particular Echo Park collection worked perfectly because it had all the colours that were in that mood board, those blues and yellows in there as well. So kind of fluked it when I was looking through my stash, because you know, sometimes you might have the right collection and you know exactly what you want to use, but can you put your hands on it and find it? That happens to me so often. I tend to put things in really safe spots, and then when I need to use them, I can't find them. So a bit frustrating there, but certainly in this case, I kind of fluked it and ended up with something that I'm really happy with. So I'm popping just a few little embellishments, and I don't know, I probably could have left this without the yellow splatter, but that's where I'm going to go next. I felt like I hadn't quite represented that yellow colour enough. Even though it was in those pattern papers, I just needed something a little extra. So going to my stash of acrylic paints, I think this is called Lemon Zest from Dilutions, and I'm just mixing it up with a little bit of water and popping just a little bit of yellow splatter around and mixing it in with the blue. It's kind of hard to see in the actual film, but it is in there. So a little bit of splatter, and then I've pulled out some rub-ons again in grey. I actually thought I had some yellow rub-ons, but apparently I have used them or again put them somewhere really safe. I would have loved to have included some yellow ones, but alas, it wasn't to be. So I'll have to stick with the grey rub-ons and the yellow splatter. I still eventually kind of thought that maybe this needed something else, but I couldn't tell you what it was, so I just decided to let it be and call it finished. And I definitely thoroughly enjoyed the inspiration that came from this particular challenge. Hopefully I've nailed it, and I definitely thoroughly enjoyed, had a lot of fun, and this kind of challenge scrapping is so enjoyable for me at the moment. So I hope you'll give CSI some love, check out the blog, check out what the design team, such good inspiration from their creators, and I'm sure you'll find something to enjoy. As always, happy scrapping, and thank you for watching.